I love it. I love it. Wow, I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
What's up, the homies? Leighton here for UFC Gambling Addicts, back again for another UFC full card breakdown and predictions video. This one's going to be UFC 255, and I know this breakdown's coming out quite late. I'm very sorry for that, guys, but it's here. It's arrived. The main event is Deiveson Figueiredo versus Alex Perez, and we have a title fight in the co-main event too. As always, make sure you smash that Hamzat button. If you don't know what the Hamzat button is, check the comment section. I'm sure someone's going to tell you what the Hamzat button is. But if you know what it is, make sure you smash that Hamzat button. Alright guys, let's get into breaking down these fights. Fight number 1, we have Cosce versus Sasha Palatnikov. And we're going to start with Lewis. So Lewis comes into this fight 7-0 as a pro, making his UFC debut. Lewis had a really impressive Contender Series fight not too long ago. Very accurate with his boxing is what I'm starting to notice more and more in the tape I'm watching. Lewis doesn't mind hitting the mat with you either, but without a doubt, it's the power and precision in his boxing on the feet that's the most noticeable in this man's game. The Contender Series TKO, I mean, you only have to go back and watch that fight alone to see the precision this man has with his hands. The opponent, Sasha Palatnikov, comes into this fight 5 wins, 2 losses as a pro, making his UFC debut. Watching tape on Sasha, he's really not a bad fighter at all. Like seriously, I was expecting to see some sort of clear path to victory for Cosce, but it's not that clear. Sasha hasn't exactly been dominated in any of his fights as of yet. Quite a composed guy on the feet. Doesn't seem to brawl. Is he lucky to be getting the shot in the UFC? Probably yes, but I do still think it's a pretty fair matchup. The difference for me is Cosce is accurate with his punches, seems to be way more confident in his ability to box. So purely for those reasons, I'm going to take Cosce via decision. And the reason why I favour a decision over a TKO is because, like I said, Sasha is quite composed and doesn't really like to brawl. So I think it's going to be one of those situations where Cosce is landing the bigger punches. He looks way more confident in his ability, but Sasha just isn't really engaging too much and maybe makes it the full 15 minutes and picks up a loss. But yeah, that's why I'm favouring a decision over a TKO. My line would be Cosce -200, Sasha +170. And the actual line is crazy, by the way. We have Cosce coming in -500, Sasha returning +370, 380, +400, which, wow, that's crazy. Crazy line. I mean, I'm not going to be touching that line, but I know a few of you guys will be. I do favour Cosce quite a bit over Sasha, but yeah, I mean, during the tape watching of Sasha, there wasn't anything that really told me he was going to lose the fight. I am going to pick against him, but to take a -500 in, you know, no real discovery in the tape watching of Sasha that he's going to absolutely lose the fight, I can't do it. The pick is going to be Cosce, but yeah, the line, in my opinion, is looking a bit dodgy, guys. Kyle Daukaus versus Dustin Stoltfus, and we're going to start with Kyle. So Kyle comes into this fight 0 wins, 1 loss inside the UFC. Primarily a grappler, a jiu-jitsu fighter. Debuted against Brandon Allen. Had a good grappling fight over 15 minutes where he was basically outmatched. Came on strong though in that final round, but just wasn't enough, you know. Started to take the back of Brendan Allen. It looked like maybe he could finish the fight, but yeah, the last 2 minutes or so for that fight, Kyle Daukaus really showing his ability, but prior to that, it was all Brendan Allen. The opponent, Dustin Stoltfus, comes into this fight 13 wins, 1 loss as a pro, making his UFC debut. Dustin is also a grappler, loves to use his jiu-jitsu. If anyone can remember his Contender Series fight where he slammed Joseph Pyfer and his arm turned to jelly, just a disgusting injury. Really, really disgusting. If you haven't seen it, don't go watch it because, yeah, it's bad. I mean, Dustin just picked up Joseph, slammed him down, and the arm just turned. It was bad. It's bad, guys. I'm sure a few of you right now are cringing, remembering about it, but yeah, it's bad. So we have two grapplers facing off against each other in this fight. Who's the better grappler? It's difficult to say, but I'd probably lean towards Dustin, most likely. But if this fight is kept in a kickboxing situation, a kickboxing setting, then I'm slightly leaning towards Kyle Daukaus. So you could say I'm seeing a 50-50 fight. I'm going to side with Kyle Daukaus to score more with his striking than Dustin is able to score with his grappling. But it's a tough one, guys. This one is a tough one. My pick is going to be Kyle Daukaus, though. I'm slightly leaning more towards Kyle. My numbers would be Kyle -140, Dustin +110. And the actual numbers, we have... Wow, oh my goodness, man. Kyle Daukaus over -300. Dustin coming back +260, +270, which... That's crazy. Again, in my opinion, that is crazy. I don't know if I'm missing something here. Like, if Kyle Daukaus has turned into an elite boxer overnight. Dustin Stoltfus has shown us he's a good grappler, good jiu-jitsu. Kyle, primarily a jiu-jitsu fighter too. So, I'm not seeing how Kyle should have such an advantage in the betting line. But, yeah, Kyle Daukaus is my pick. Would I play over -300 here? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Next fight, we have Alan Jouban versus Jared Gooden. And we're going to start with Alan. So Alan comes into this fight 7 wins, 5 losses inside the UFC. It's been about a year and a half, roughly, since we last saw Alan Jouban. He's coming off that dodgy split decision loss to Dwight Grant. I believe those scorecards were wrong in that fight, but I will say this. Alan Jouban didn't really put a stamp on any round, you know? Did he arguably beat Dwight Grant? Yes, in my opinion. But the performance wasn't evident. It wasn't really clear that Alan Jouban was doing much more than Dwight Grant. Like I said, I think Alan Jouban won that fight, but look at the performance. It was lackluster. There was no stamp at any given moment from Alan Jouban. The opponent, Jared Gooden, comes into this fight 17 wins, 4 losses as a pro, making his UFC debut. Jared was originally supposed to fight Dwight Grant. That would have been a really good fight. Jared, in my opinion, is getting this fight at a much better time in his career. The 2017 Alan Jouban is a much different Jouban to nearly 2021 Alan Jouban. Of course, I could be wrong in my read, but I think Jared Gooden is more aggressive, more powerful than Alan Jouban. Potentially more stamps than Alan Jouban. So if Jared simply looks to land bigger, better moments, land those low kicks, land big punches up top, I can see him having a good debut against a UFC fighter that isn't that active, potentially past his prime. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Jared Gooden via TKO in round number 2. My numbers would be Jared -130, Alan Jouban +100. And we have Jared Gooden +120, +135. So, yeah, that will be my first underdog play of this card. Alan Jouban coming back -150, -160. This is a very playable line for either side. My personal opinion, though, this will be the first plus money play for me. Alright, homies, moving into the next one, we have Nicholas Dalby versus Daniel Rodriguez. This is a really good matchup. We're going to start with Nicholas. So Nicholas comes into this fight, I believe, 2 wins, 2 losses right now in the UFC. Not too sure about Dalby's record. He has just come back to the UFC. Nicholas is primarily a kickboxer and a grappler too. His karate-like style is his preferred fighting style, but the grappling is something that he can fall back on. Even use it if he sees an advantage in a wrestling match. The way he kept taking down Cowboy Oliveira would be an example with that, you know. Nicholas Dalby primarily karate, kicking, looking to kickbox, but if he sees the advantage with the grappling, it will look like that fight against Cowboy Oliveira. So yeah, Nicholas Dalby, very well rounded, deserves to be fighting at the highest level. The opponent, Daniel Rodriguez, comes into this fight 3 wins, 0 losses inside the UFC. Daniel is primarily a boxer, extremely sharp hands. Just like Nicholas Dalby, he also has his own jiu-jitsu to fall back on. We haven't really seen that side from Daniel yet. His boxing ability is his chosen preference inside the octagon. Had a great comeback win in his last fight against Dwight Grant. You know, he was nearly put to sleep, and then 45 seconds later, he's able to put Dwight Grant to sleep. Such a crazy fight. If you haven't seen that fight, guys, please go back and watch it. The story of this fight, in my opinion, Daniel Rodriguez simply has brilliant boxing. I think he has better boxing than Nicholas Dalby. Could Nicholas outpoint Daniel with that karate style? Maybe even mix it up with some takedowns to win this fight? Maybe he can. But I don't see it working too long, you know. Maybe for the first round for Nicholas Dalby, but I think as this fight ticks on, Daniel Rodriguez will eventually find his range, start to really tee off on Nicholas Dalby, maybe even find his own TKO. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Daniel Rodriguez via TKO in round number 2. My line would be Rodriguez minus 200, Dalby plus 170. I'm interested to see what the actual line is for this fight. Daniel Rodriguez coming in over minus 300. So a lot of respect going into Daniel Rodriguez. It's nice to see. Nicholas Dalby returning plus 250, plus 260. I mean, the line is maybe a little bit off, but I wouldn't say it's too off, right? I wouldn't argue against it too much because Daniel Rodriguez has just been impressive, man. He really has. I mean, the UFC debut, his last fight, this guy is a sharp boxer. His jiu-jitsu is very good. And, you know, I mentioned he hasn't really used his jiu-jitsu yet, but I'm now remembering his fight against Tim Means. You know, he hurt Tim Means and then finished it with his jiu-jitsu. So, yeah, man, Daniel Rodriguez, good grappling, good boxing, good chin. You know, even got hurt by Dwight Grant, but came back and finished that fight. So Daniel Rodriguez is a really good fighter, man. And I think he could have a good time against Nicholas Dalby. Alright, homies, we have Antonina versus Ariana Lipski. And we're going to start with Antonina. So Antonina comes into this fight 2 wins, 2 losses inside the UFC. Sister of the GOAT. Antonina, just like her sister, is all about that Muay Thai. Her Muay Thai ability, nowhere near that of her sister. But hey, it's clear. It's clear to see that Antonina still has some brilliant technique. Her ground game needs improvement. Hopefully she can show those improvements in this matchup. The opponent, Ariana Lipski, comes into this fight also 2 wins, 2 losses inside the UFC. Lipski is primarily a striker. Prior to her UFC days, she really did warrant her ring name, the Queen of Violence. She looked super violent prior to the UFC. I can't really say the violence has carried over to the highest level, but I will say this. Ariana Lipski has a lot of growing to do. She still is improving fight by fight herself. She's coming off a pretty nice submission win too, so maybe she looks to exploit the ground game of Antonina in this matchup. If this matchup stays standing, I do prefer to side with Antonina. I wouldn't say it's a clear striking advantage that she has, but I would still like to side with Antonina in a kickboxing battle. Like I said though, Lipski can get quite violent on the feet, but I do see a slight advantage for Antonina. So if it stays kickboxing, I'd expect Antonina to edge that type of fight. But if this fight hits the mat, potentially Lipski could dominate from there. No real confidence in either side, guys, but I'm going to side with Antonina to show improvements in her takedown defense and her ground game, and potentially to keep the fight standing for the majority of the time to edge out that nice striking performance. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Antonina via decision. My numbers would be very close because, you know, on paper it's a close matchup and most likely plays out pretty close inside the octagon too. I would price Antonina -120, Lipski +110. And the actual odds, we have Antonina -160, Lipski +140. So, yeah, I'm kind of close, but Antonina starting to take off as a favourite here, -160. You know, it is getting up there. I'd put her closer to evens, but yeah, Antonina, man, that is going to be my pick. Am I going to play this line? Probably not, man. There's better fights to play here, in my opinion. Next fight, we have Buckley taking on Jordan Wright. This is a good matchup as well, man. As I'm going through this card, I'm noticing UFC 255 is pretty lit. So we're going to start with Buckley. Buckley comes into this fight 1 win, 1 loss inside the UFC. Primarily a power puncher. Not anymore though, right? We're not going to describe Buckley as purely a power puncher, right? I'm sure pretty much all of you have seen this man's last fight. For those of you who didn't, please go back and watch it, right? Everyone right now hearing that agrees with me. I know that. If you haven't seen Buckley's finish in his last fight, you need to go and watch it because it's arguably the best knockout we've ever seen in the UFC. And I know, right, it's subjective, right? It's subjective. The best knockout we've ever seen, it is subjective. But I know we all agree that it was so nice, man. It was beautiful, right? There's no other way of saying it. It's a beautiful, beautiful knockout. So let's describe Buckley as a powerful puncher with some nice tricks in his bag, right? With some nice technique in his bag. Debuted against Kevin Holland, which looked pretty okay here and there, but ultimately he was outclassed. Against Impa Kasanganay, again, it looked okay here and there, but out of nowhere, spinning back kick to the face. Just amazing. Honestly, the knockout, I never get tired of seeing it. I can watch it 20 times a day and watch it 20 times the next day. It's a beautiful knockout, guys. The opponent, Jordan Wright, comes into this fight 1 win, 0 losses inside the UFC. Debuted a few months ago against IK Villanueva, I believe. That fight went nice. It went very well for Jordan Wright. He was able to cut Villanueva open, got that doctor stoppage. Jordan Wright loves to use his kicks, so watch out for that in this matchup. It is an interesting matchup because Kevin Holland is a great kicker, right? He's great at kicking. He's great at controlling that kicking distance. Now, I'm not saying Jordan Wright is also great, but he's more like a Kevin Holland than an Impa Kasanganay. So I do believe it's a good test again for Buckley. But my decider is, I believe Buckley keeps this distance closed. He's able to close the distance and is able to land multiple big punches that could potentially stop this fight. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Buckley via TKO in round number 1. My numbers would be Buckley -180. I'd put Jordan Wright +150. I'm interested to see. We have Buckley -250. Jordan Wright +210. We do have to admit that, you know, even though Buckley's the favourite, half of that price, maybe not half, I'd say a bit of that price is because of the TKO in his last fight. But, you know, Buckley has to close the distance in this matchup. He can't allow Jordan Wright to use his kicks. And if he is able to close the distance and land those big punches, minus 250 could be warranted. Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval. Man, another good matchup here. So we're going to start with the Mexican. Moreno comes into this fight 5 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw inside the UFC. Primarily a jiu-jitsu fighter that used to have a crazy, wild kickboxing side to his game. But since coming back to the UFC, we do have to admit that Brandon Moreno has been a different guy from a striking perspective. He's way more composed on the feet than what he was in his former UFC days. Just watch Moreno get tagged up by Sergio Pettis and Pantoja. Then watch Moreno against K-Kara France and Formiga. 2 completely different guys from a striking standpoint. The opponent, Brandon Royval, comes into this fight 2 wins, 0 losses inside the UFC. Also primarily a jiu-jitsu fighter who has some unorthodox kickboxing. I've gone against Brandon Royval in both of his UFC fights. It stung me twice. But that doesn't mean to say that I don't give this man good credit. Brandon Royval has been awesome so far. It has to be said, guys. To beat a veteran like Tim Elliott in his UFC debut, awesome. To smash K-Kara France with a wide variety of unorthodox attacks, awesome. It has to be said. Brandon Royval is a problem, guys. Here's my problem though. I think Brandon Moreno is an improved fighter that potentially is able to deal with a fighter like Brandon Royval. This fight is going to be very, very interesting in a kickboxing situation. I think Moreno is good enough to deal with Brandon Royval on the feet. But Royval could show a lot of skill again, right? The Brandon Moreno of 2017, I probably go against him here. But the Brandon Moreno of 2020, I'm going to go with him. It comes down to personal preference, guys. Do you think the improved Moreno is able to deal with Royval on the feet? I personally think yes. A good amount of you guys are going to think no, and that's completely fair. But my pick is going to be Brandon Moreno via decision. Really excited to see that fight though. My numbers would be close, man. They would be close. It's a hard pick to make. Brandon Royval plus 110, Moreno minus 120. And the actual line, I completely disagree with. I completely disagree with that. Brandon Moreno minus 200. Brandon Royval plus 160, plus 170. I disagree. I think Brandon Royval showed us in his last fight, hey, look, I'm this guy who's going to come out with so many attacks on the feet. And it's going to be constant output, good pressure. Brandon Moreno maybe deals with it for 6 or 7 minutes, but it could get very interesting as the fight ticks on. The jiu-jitsu side of this fight, again, very competitive. Moreno is a really good grappler. Brandon Royval showed in his UFC debut, hey man, I can really grapple too. So yeah, the line, guys, I disagree with it. Am I taking Moreno? Yes. Should he be minus 200? I don't think so. Alright, the homies, you know what time it is. If you waited to smoke with me, amen. If you've been smoking this whole time, amen. If you're not a smoker, but you enjoy the smoke breaks, triple amen, gang. Let's go. Let's go. I said it at the start of this video. I'll say it again in the smoke break. I'm really sorry that this upload has been late. I can't remember releasing any UFC breakdown on a Friday night. I mean, the latest I've ever gone is a Thursday, but yeah, we're later this week. We're on a Friday night, man, and it feels wrong. It does feel wrong, guys. I'm not going to lie. It feels wrong, but hey, so many of you have messaged me on Instagram asking, you know, is there going to be a video for UFC 255? Guys, of course there's going to be a video. Even if the video got released, let's say an hour before the fight night, right? An hour before the card. There's always going to be a video, guys. If there's not a video, call someone, because I'm missing. If there's not a video, guys, please, I'm missing, all right? That's my commitment to this game, right? There's always going to be a video, and I am sorry that it's a late one. I'm really sorry about that. Let's speak a little bit about last week. My bets on last week, Al Hassan hurt me, and I really regret taking that spot, but I took RDA decision and RDA moneyline. That really helped me. Those came in beautifully, but guys, what about the judge in the main event? I had a conversation with one of my subscribers, and you know, when I mention these moments with subscribers, I'm sorry that I don't remember your name. It's not like I don't know your name. I do know your name, but I have so many interactions on Instagram and in the comment section. I forget who it's with, but I was speaking to a subscriber, and I said to him, bro, when that split decision came up in the main event, I literally opened my window and I was ready to exorcist, right? I was ready to exorcist out of the window if they got that decision wrong. One judge gave Paul Felder 3 rounds. I mean, guys, listen, right? Last week I'm speaking about Paul Felder. I'm saying when it's all said and done, we're going to look back at this guy. We're going to see him for what he was. A commentator, a corner man, a fighter, just a legend, man. Paul Felder is... How can you disrespect him? You can't. You cannot. And I really appreciate that he took the fight on 5 days' notice. I really appreciate the fact that he showed up. He showed up and gave it his all, but he didn't even win 1 round, let alone 3. We have to be honest. We have to be honest, man. Paul Felder, I respect you, bro. I really respect you, but one judge saw you do some stuff that I did not see. And it surprised me, guys, because the judges, we know about the judges. We know what they do sometimes, and I was not going to accept that one. I was not going to accept Paul Felder getting a split decision win, and I'm very happy it didn't happen, because if it did, guys, I don't know what I would have done. I would have booked a flight to Las Vegas and tried to do something, man, because that would have been bad, right? That really would have been bad. But like I said, Paul Felder, I respect you. You showed up. In my opinion, though, you didn't win 1 round, let alone 3. But it is what it is. These judges do what they want. They do what they want, guys. And we know that, right? We know that. Okay, guys, so motivation, right? I hope all of you are doing well. I hope all of you are on your purpose. What is your purpose in life? Your purpose in life is your passion. So you need to do that. What makes your heart the happiest is what you need to be doing in life. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, we speak about this nearly every week, right? We do this every week. What your passion is in life is what you need to be doing. Doesn't matter what it is, but you need to be doing it, because there's nothing worse in this life than your soul being killed. There's nothing worse, guys. There really isn't. So do what makes your soul happy, man. Do what makes your soul happy. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be just going on a walk, man. You like to go on walks, right? It makes you very happy to just have your own time, go on a little walk. Whatever it is, guys, you need to be doing it, man. And I know a lot of you are, because I see it in the comment section. I see it on my Instagram, you know, the conversations I have with you guys. A lot of us share a similar mindset. Maybe not a mindset that's exactly the same, because I've spoken about that before. We all think a little bit different, maybe similar, but still slightly different. But a lot of you guys, man, you are on your purpose. You're chasing what makes you happy. You're doing that every day, and I can only respect it. But for those of you who aren't, I'm always going to speak about this every week. I'm going to speak about the importance of purpose. And purpose is passion. And passion is making your soul happy. So For those of you who are tuning in right now and you're, you know, it's a Friday night and today hasn't been great, bro, it's fine, because tomorrow, it's a new day. You're going to chase your purpose tomorrow. You're going to chase making your soul happy tomorrow. And that's an amen, right? So for all of you who aren't on your purpose, get on your purpose, get on your passion. For those of you who have had a good day, you've chased your purpose today, amen to that. But overall, we all need to be on our purpose, guys. So yeah, that's an amen, right? That's an amen. Alright, homies. I mentioned this last week. I'll mention it again. I'm doing £100 or $100 giveaway at 10k subscribers. So we're not there yet, but we're getting closer and closer every week. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and we can get to that $100 parlay sooner than what I'd like. But like I said, man, we are going to get there. We're moving week by week. It may not be next week. It may not be this year, but 10k subscribers will come and the $100 giveaway is going to come. So if you haven't hit that red button, hit that red button. If you haven't hit the Hamzat button, do that too. If you don't know what the Hamzat button is, someone's going to tell you in the comment section. Alright, homies, let's get into breaking down the rest of this main event. Or let's get into the main event, should I say. Shogun versus Paul Craig, and we're going to start with the legend. So Shogun comes into this fight with a veteran record, right? Shogun, in my opinion, should be retired from the sport, but he wants to get this rematch done with Paul Craig. The first fight was kind of strange. Paul Craig, for the first time in his UFC career, was actually able to use his striking in some type of dangerous way. He actually wobbled Shogun on the feet and then was basically put on his back for the entire fight. What is the path to victory for Shogun in this fight? Probably to put Paul Craig on his back again, which is a very achievable task. The opponent, Paul Craig, comes into this fight 5 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw inside the UFC. Primarily a jiu-jitsu fighter. Like I said just a second ago, Paul Craig really doesn't offer much with his striking. He's purely about that grappling life. However, in the first fight with Shogun, Paul Craig was able to wobble Shogun on the feet. He did look okay on the feet. Will Paul Craig look dangerous again in the striking? Probably for a moment here and there. However, he may end up on his back again. I'm sure Paul Craig will anticipate being taken down this time, so maybe he's able to take the neck on the way down, or even show some type of takedown defense to keep this fight standing. Guys, this rematch can go either way. If you're betting on this fight, I'd suggest rolling up a fat blunt to calm your nerves before the fight, because who knows, right? Who knows? My original pick was Shogun. I thought Paul wouldn't be able to stand with Shogun, and he absolutely was able to. This time I'm going to take Paul Craig, hoping that Shogun isn't able to stand with Paul Craig. Such a weird situation we find ourselves in with this rematch, man. Like, how do you even break it down now? Because originally you're thinking Paul Craig can't stand, and then you see he can, and now you're faced with the same question. Is Paul Craig going to look okay on the feet? Is he going to get stuck on his back? Is he going to pull off that Hail Mary triangle off his... It's a weird situation. My opinion, Paul Craig. But a better opinion, don't gamble on this fight. My numbers would be Paul Craig -110, Shogun -110. But of course, we don't have that line. We have Paul Craig coming in -170 when he was an underdog in the first fight. Shogun returning +150. I disagree. I disagree. I think the fight is way closer than that. That line suggests to me that Paul Craig is going to go in there and he's going to be able to wobble Shogun again, but I don't think it's, as clear as that. Paul Craig hasn't really done that to anyone else. Can he do it again? It's a gamble. I wouldn't gamble on this fight, guys. Katlyn Chookagian versus Cynthia Calvillo. And we're going to start with Katlyn. So Katlyn comes into this fight 6 wins, 4 losses inside the UFC. Primarily a kickboxer. One of the best point fighters in the game, in all honesty. I took Chikadze recently against Jessica, and in all honesty, it looked okay to me. It did look okay. It looked like Katlyn would make it out of round 1 and potentially use her size advantage in the second round, but it wasn't meant to be. Stopped very late in that first round by a nasty body shot. You have to give credit to the Brazilian fighter. Katlyn taking no time off really, straight back in there, looking to pick up where she left off. You can only respect that type of mentality. The opponent, Cynthia Calvillo, comes into this fight 6 wins, 1 loss inside the UFC. Primarily a grappler, primarily a jiu-jitsu fighter. Cynthia has evolved with her striking, not by a great deal, but yes, I would say she has become a better striker. Cynthia seems to slow down as the fight goes on, but again, she will evolve in that area over time. She's still got a lot of growing to do. This is a really difficult prediction to make. There's no doubt in my mind who the better kicker is, who's the better striker, the better point fighter. That's Katlyn, without a doubt. But Cynthia is looking to do something different, guys. She's looking to take you down, take your back. Just looking to use her wrestling and BJJ to beat you. This is such a 50-50 fight. I could see Cynthia having a good first round and slowing down outside of round 1. But I could also see Cynthia doing enough to bank 2 rounds on the scorecards. Again, if you're betting on this fight, roll a fat blunt and calm your nerves because it really does go either way. My personal opinion, I believe the grappler will do a little bit more than the striker. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Cynthia Calvillo via decision. My numbers would be very close because again, it's another close one. I'd put Calvillo -120, Chikadze +110. And the actual oh my, Cynthia Calvillo -270. Katlyn Chikadze +210, +220. That is insane. That is insane. So Calvillo's just gonna go in there, take down Katlyn and wrap her up the way Shevchenko did, right? I don't think so, man. I mean, if she does, then I really like my pick. But in this breakdown game, guys, you have to see paths to victory for both fighters. You have to break down both sides. And for me, Calvillo has to grapple and Katlyn has to kickbox, point fight. Katlyn is very good at doing that. Very good at doing that. So I don't see how she's such an underdog. You know, I wouldn't... There's no chance I'm laying money on Cynthia Calvillo at -270, -260. That is just... It's insane. My gambling strategy isn't really to play lines that are off. So some of you will look at Katlyn's line and think, man, she should be +140, +150. She's +220. I'm going to take a shot. That's not really my style, but man, the line is so off in my opinion. I mean, let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about that line? To me, it's crazy. Mike Perry versus Tim Means, and we're going to start with Mike. So Mike comes into this fight 7 wins, 6 losses inside the UFC. Primarily a powerful guy who can deliver some powerful punches to your brain that most of the time seem to either put you down or at least give you the concern of, man, I don't want to take too many more of those punches. Technique has never been Mike Perry's strongest point, but he has become smarter over the duration of his career. Even getting rid of his camp, I do have to admit that Mike Perry is fighting with a little bit more technique, a little bit more intelligence. He's fighting with more than just power, but you know, it's not much, right? Mike Perry is still Mike Perry. technique is never going to be what Mike Perry is about, right? Has it improved? Yes. Is he still Mike Perry? Yes. The opponent, Tim Means, comes into this fight with a veteran record in the UFC, primarily a boxer. Tim is coming off that win to Staropoli. His boxing, his veteran experience really showed in that fight. Could that same experience show in this type of fight against Mike Perry? I wouldn't say no. Here's the problem with this fight. Is it going to be Mike Perry that just lands a beautiful punch that sleeps Tim Means? Or is Tim Means going to outbox Mike Perry over 15 minutes? Or is Tim Means going to outbox Mike Perry right up into the point where Mike Perry is able to sleep Tim Means? There's a few who the hell knows type of fights on this card, and I think this is another one. If you put a gun to my head and told me, hey, pick the winner, man, or you go night-night, I'm going to pick Mike Perry. But if I end up going night-night, for sure, it's a guy like Mike Perry who's let me down, right? Either way, guys, I think it's clear. Either Tim Means uses his experience and outboxes Mike Perry, or the power puncher is able to connect multiple times by closing the distance, ultimately being able to sleep Tim Means. My prediction is going to be Mike Perry is able to sleep Tim, but man, it's again, it's who the hell knows, man, and I think it's such a dangerous fight to bet on. My prediction is going to be Mike Perry via TKO in round number 1. My odds would be Mike minus 150, Tim plus 120. And that's the exact odds. So, yeah, my odds hit perfect this time. Mike Perry should be the favourite. Shouldn't be minus 200 though. Shouldn't be minus 120. He should be, that minus 150 range. And he is. Tim Means should be the dog, but a very, very small dog. And he is. That really is the type of matchup we have here. Okay, guys, co-main event. We have Valentina Shevchenko versus Jennifer Maia. And we're going to start with the champion. So Valentina, right? Champion, arguably one of the best female fighters we'll ever see. That's a fact. That is a fact. What is she good at? Muay Thai, grappling, conditioning, IQ, all of it, right? Valentina is an all-round fighter. There's not many areas of her game, if any areas of her game, that can be exploited, right? She's just that good. I mean, there's no other way of explaining how good Valentina is. We just have to put her down as one of the best female fighters we will ever see. Now, in this breakdown game, despite seeing a very, very good advantage for one fighter, you still have to acknowledge the other fighter. You still have to see the path to victory for the other fighter. Now, if you get into a position where you get to fight Valentina, you've done some good stuff. Okay, so we're not going to downplay Jennifer Maia. We're not going to sit here and say, hey, Valentina, 100%, that's it, right? Jennifer Maia has put herself in a position where she gets to fight arguably one of the best female fighters we will ever see in our lifetime, right? What has Jennifer Maia been doing? Her jiu-jitsu, very good. Is it better than Valentina's? Probably not, but it is very good. Jennifer Maia is also very tough. She's a very tough fighter. She can wear punches very well. She can take your punches. She's going to keep coming forward. Her punching power, is it more than Valentina? I wouldn't say it's more powerful, but I wouldn't say, it's not as powerful. I'd say Jennifer Maia can definitely crack. Where will Jennifer win this fight? There's not really anywhere she's going to win this fight other than landing that lucky punch, or she's able to use her jiu-jitsu if Valentina takes her down and pulls off an armbar. It could happen, guys. It really could, but we do have to look at this matchup and make a pick, and the pick is going to be, the greatest female fighter arguably that we've seen, other than Amanda Nunes, right? Valentina, her Muay Thai is just so good. The kicking ability, the punching ability, if she wants to take you down and play that type of game, I'm sure she can do that here too. But yeah, for the most part, I think Valentina does keep this fight in a kickboxing situation and basically just outpoints Jennifer Maia. So my pick is going to be Valentina via decision. My numbers would be, I'd probably price Valentina minus 700. And, you know I've seen the betting line. I have seen it. Jennifer Maia coming in plus 850, plus 900. Valentina minus 1700, minus 2000, which is so disrespectful. It is so disrespectful to Jennifer Maia. And that's not downplaying Valentina. It's not downplaying her, right? I'm not saying that she's, in a competitive fight, right? It is competitive to the point that Jennifer Maia is the best opponent that Valentina is going to be fighting as of right now. But I'd price Valentina around minus 700, and that's being fair to both sides, in my opinion. Jennifer Maia, can she do it? It would be a huge, huge upset. It would be such a big shock to the world of MMA. I don't think it happens, guys. If anyone's taking Jennifer Maia, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, guys, main event. We have Deiveson Figueiredo versus Alex Perez. This is a good main event. I like this main event. So we're going to start with my boy, the champion, Deiveson Figueiredo. This guy is elite. There's no other way of saying it. This guy is elite. I've said this before, right? I remember making a shout roughly 2 years ago on this channel that Deiveson Figueiredo is going to go on to be champion. This guy is, I really believe in him. I remember saying this. And that following week that I said that, he went on to lose to Formiga. And somebody came to my comment section and said, you overhyped. You overhyped Figueiredo, man. And look where we are now, right? This guy's champion. This guy is extremely talented. He has a karate style. He has good boxing, good Muay Thai. His jiu-jitsu is brilliant. His wrestling is brilliant. His scrambling ability. The only concern I have for Figueiredo is the weight cut, right? And that's because he is so big for 125. His punching power, that right hand that set down Joey B in the first fight. Just such a sniper of a right hand. Figueiredo is so multi-talented, guys. His jiu-jitsu, karate, boxing, all of it. You put all of his skills together, and what do you get? You get a champion. That's what you get. So Alex Perez comes into this fight. Does Alex Perez deserve the shot at the title? I would say so. He lost that fight to Joey B, where he was basically finished 2 times in one fight. But we have to look at what Alex Perez is good at, right? The low kicks against Formiga. It's very, very clear that Alex Perez is a beautiful low kicker. Very, very powerful with that technique. His wrestling is pretty good too. I would maybe say slightly better wrestling than Figueiredo. But I think if Alex Perez chooses to wrestle Figueiredo has such a good scrambling ability. He has such good jiu-jitsu that I can't really see Perez being able to win purely with his wrestling. Just like most people thought Joey B would be able to wrestle, but it wasn't the story, right? Figueiredo is a really good wrestler himself. He scrambles very well himself and uses his jiu-jitsu to nullify anyone trying to hold him down. Now, Formiga was able to do it, but look at what happened after that loss. He came back and he looked as good. He only got better fight by fight. Deiveson Figueiredo is a problem for anyone. Can Alex Perez do it? I wouldn't say no. Everyone has a puncher's chance, but I don't see a clear path to victory. I think Figueiredo is going to land bigger punches. I don't think Figueiredo is going to get stuck on his back either. Even as the fight ticks on, I think it's more likely that Figueiredo submits Alex Perez than Alex Perez, basically holding Figueiredo down and scoring with that type of game plan. So for me, I have to stick with my boy. I've never picked against Figueiredo. From the UFC debut to the Formiga loss to both Joey B fights. I've not gone against this Brazilian fighter, and that's because I really believe in his ability. I can see his whole skill set coming in as one. He's a problem. I really believe in Deiveson Figueiredo. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Deiveson via TKO in round number 2. My odds would be, I'd price Figueiredo minus 200, Perez plus 170. And the actual odds, we have Figueiredo touching minus 300. So despite picking him, despite speaking about his ability, I would say the line is off. I give Perez more of a chance than plus 250. But ultimately, I do think Figueiredo is able to finish this fight. Alright, homies, I've enjoyed breaking down these fights for you. It was late, I'm sorry about that. Leave down your picks below. If you want to catch me on Instagram, that will also be at the end of this video. Alright, homies, peace.